Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be making some DIY kitchen items. I have been loving these cute little wooden risers, wooden pedestals, whatever you want to call them. I think they are so cute just to put a little plant on, or some soaps and things like that, maybe a candle for your kitchen. I just think that they add a little warmth and elevate your space, literally and figuratively. But I have been loving these, but these are very expensive and can range anywhere from like $30 to like $100 depending on where you're buying them from. So I wanted to show you guys a little DIY to be able to get that look on a budget. So if you are new here, definitely consider subscribing to my channel. I make new videos like this every single week and really want to make a high-end look achievable no matter what your budget is. So definitely consider subscribing, and let's go ahead and get into the video. I have a lot of scrap wood that I've kept from past projects, so I wanted to try and work with what I had, and I found this scrap piece of reclaimed wood from a DIY console table that I did, but then I remembered that I had this other really big piece that was from that same project, so I thought that I could use this and then it would be perfect for the riser since it has that worn, aged look to it. And you could totally use a new piece of wood and just add some distressing yourself to get that aged look too. So I'm just starting by measuring out the length that I want my riser to be. I didn't want it to take up too much room, so I went ahead and went with 10 inches and marked that out. Then using my miter saw, I cut the piece down, and this is a super easy saw to use. It's definitely one of my go-tos for straight cuts, but since this wood was really wide, I had to actually flip it over to finish the cut. Next, I wanted to make this piece a little more narrow, so I just lined it up with the laser so that it would be 8 inches wide, and then cut that down. I really like how this riser from McGee & Co. looks like the feet have been carved out of it, so to get that same look, I'm taking this piece that I just cut off of the width and am lining it up with the side of the board and then marking it so that it will go all the way across the bottom of this board. So once I cut that piece down, I went ahead and marked 4 1/4 inch pieces, but then I realized I only needed 2 for the feet, so I cut those out. And next I attached these pieces to the bottom of the board with some wood glue, and I let the pieces hang over just a little so that I could sand them down later and make it look kind of like it's one piece. Then I used some finishing nails so that I didn't have to wait for the glue to dry, and this was actually a struggle because I cannot tell you the last time that I hammered in a nail. I've gotten way too used to using my nail gun. So once I finally got all those hammered in, I started sanding down the overlap and also used my sander to taper in the legs so that they weren't so square and looked more carved out. I made sure to round off all of the edges and really curve in those legs so that this looked more like a carved piece and not like just a fresh cut piece of wood. Once I got all those edges sanded down, I took some of the sawdust and mixed it with a little wood glue to make wood filler. And I really like to use this because I feel like it blends in with the wood better than normal wood filler and gives it more of a seamless look. So I'm just pushing it down into the cracks and then rubbing off any of the excess. And then once that's dried, I'm going in with a 220 grit sandpaper just to smooth that down. Since I want this riser to have a worn look, I'm actually not going to seal it so that it continues to age with use. So that's going to finish off this wood riser. Another really trendy kitchen item that can also be expensive depending on the quality and where you're getting it from are cutting boards and little charcuterie boards. So I love a good charcuterie board. They're just so nice. I'll eat them for lunch or like a little late night snack or something. I just really love them. But I also love styling with these little boards and also like just bringing a lot of warmth to your space just like the pedestals do. So I'm going to be showing you guys how to create one of these DIY charcuterie boards today as well. So let's get into it. For this cutting board, I'm going to be using this slab of wood from a tree that my dad cut down, and I really loved the organic shape of it and thought that it would make a great cutting board. So to give this more of a cutting board look, I'm going to actually trace out a handle from this part that naturally sticks out. And you don't have to have a slab of wood like this to make a cutting board. You can make a cutting board out of any scrap piece of board that you have, or go to the hardware store and buy a new piece. Just any piece that will fit the design that you want to make. So instead of just drawing out a handle, you can draw any shape that you want on it and just have fun with it. Once I've got my handle drawn out, I'm clamping the wood down, and I'm going to be using this jigsaw to just follow the lines that I drew out. And this was actually my first time using a jigsaw, so there was a lot of trial and error, and it was shaking the whole piece of wood, and the clamps kept falling off, and the table was scooting away, so it was just a mess. But towards the end, I figured out that it worked a lot better to have the wood clamped closer to the table so that not as much of the wood was hanging off. I also sat on the table, and that helped to keep it in place, but I was actually really surprised with how smooth this handle turned out, even with all of the starting and stopping that I had to do. Once I got the handle cut out, I took a hole saw bit and cut a hole out of the handle. And yes, I did all of this in my house shoes, which is probably not the safest, so definitely wear real shoes if you're gonna do this. Next, I needed to smooth this thing out, so I used my belt sander to really move some material. I really love using the belt sander for rough surface projects because it removes a lot of stuff really quickly. Once I got both sides sanded down, I went in with my orbital sander with 220 grit sandpaper to just clean up the sides a little bit and smooth out the top as well. Then I went around the handle to smooth out any imperfections from the jigsaw. I brought the piece inside when I was done sanding, and I'm going to apply this food grade mineral oil to prevent the wood from cracking and getting dried out. So you want to keep applying this mineral oil until it's completely shiny and there are no more dull spots. If there's a dull spot, it needs more mineral oil. So I probably put about 10 layers of this stuff on this wood, but this has also been sitting outside and has been getting really dried out, so you may not need this many coats. And then I let that sit overnight to really soak in. And then the next morning, I went in with this food grade wood conditioner, and this is a mixture of mineral oil and beeswax, so this is going to seal the wood. So I'm just going to apply 3 layers of this and making sure to get it all over the top and the sides really good in there so that this is nice and sealed. And then to finish this off, I'm actually just going to take this little piece of leather and wrap it around and tie this little knot just to give it a little bit more detail and something special. And that is going to finish off this DIY cutting board. Alrighty guys, I hope that y'all enjoyed this video and that this was helpful to you guys and just inspires you to go out and be creative, to use the items that you got to get the look that you want for your own home. It doesn't have to be something super expensive to be beautiful, so definitely go out and get creative. Like I said earlier, if you haven't already, definitely consider subscribing to my channel and turn on your notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming videos. So I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.